Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. Hope everyone's doing good. The weather for this weekend was actually pretty nice. It is Sunday, uh, about 10 o'clock. So, yeah, hope everyone's doing good. The uh, the weather today and the forecast is supposed to be pretty nice, and it's pretty sunny out, at least for now. We got a little bit of rain yesterday, but it ended up being a really nice day. And then Friday was decent, but it was pretty crappy. Overcast, not a lot of rain, but hey, I'm not a weatherman, so but we have to, with the crazy life that I guess lead with trying to be uh, a working or gigging musician. You know, a lot depends on the weather for gigs because 98% of gigs, at least that I know of or am aware of, and that I'm involved in, are outside. So we kind of always have to watch the weather. And I did have one gig get canceled this weekend because of the weather, and it was kind of a joke because we could have still played, and I don't know what was going on with the owner. Um, it was funny too because I checked out the venue and it was at a place I'd never been to before, and they have this big giant tent, and so I still don't know why they canceled it, but whatever. It is what it is. But anyway, um, coming up next week will be our next Quantum show. Very excited about playing at this place. It's a very cool bar, Lucky Betty's, which is located right in downtown Camden. It's a super cool place. It used to be an old body shop, like an old car body shop in a garage. And they basically turned it into a bar, and they kept the whole place pretty much intact. All the only thing that they did differently, they've decorated it and kind of jazzed it up quite a bit, but the structure itself, the building itself, is still like a car garage. And then they put this really nice bar inside, and it's a super cool place. I've been there. I've been there quite a few times. My good friend Andre Lescus, who's an amazing musician, really great friend, he for the last 2 years or a little less started this kind of music series where it's usually on an off night, usually on a Wednesday night or Thursday night, and they do these like variety shows where they have a bunch of different bands playing, and mostly what they end up doing is they have these like solo acts. I played there once to see. I went there. We played there with my band Bone Broth. We played there uh, one time, and that was like in October. Yeah, October of last year. And as far as I know, we were like the only band that played there that had drums, because it's a pretty intimate place. When the summer is here, they can open up the garage doors, so there's a lot more space and there's a lot more room. But when we played there, it was like around Halloween time, and it was pretty cold, so everything was closed in. So, but I think we did okay. I think it was okay. It was one of those gigs where I was a little bit nervous because it was the first time, where they had a full band in there, and I was like hoping to make a good impression because maybe I really like the place, and I think it could have let it lend itself to playing more shows there, and maybe opening up to opportunities for other drummers to be able to play gigs there. But as far as I know, it hasn't happened, so I don't know. But this coming Thursday, we will be doing a part. We will be part of this another variety kind of show, and it starts at like 7 o'clock this Thursday night, and we're going to be playing with Quantum. So I'm super excited. We've never played there before, and I had tried getting some other things going there, so this kind of came up as an opportunity. And we'll be playing probably a shorter set, 35, 40 minutes or so. So it should be interesting. And yeah, come on by. It's a free show. It's a very cool place. So that's coming up this week. So, and then as far as Quantum stuff goes, we have a couple other shows after that. the Hilltop Tavern, which is a cool, very cool place in Thomaston. It used to be known years ago as Billy's Tavern, which was a pretty much a destination to see music. Really great place. Fast forward many years later, it's now the Hilltop Tavern. So we have some shows coming up there. We have two shows that we will be playing. So very excited about that. And I think there's like something else cooking. I'm not totally sure, but so it's been great. This year's been really great with Quantum. I try to keep the band relatively busy, really active. You know, I feel like that's the best. Playing live is where it's at. I think all around, especially when I feel when it comes to the band Quantum, because I just feel like you know it's it's like the ultimate testing ground to test out material and to see if things are working. And plus, it's just a lot of fun. So for good or bad, even if the gig is like say not so great, um, but it's it's a lot of fun, and I try to keep the ball rolling. I love studio stuff. I love recording. I love writing. I love rehearsing. But my still my favorite thing to do is playing live, especially with Quantum. That's always been my favorite. We played a gig last weekend, which was super fun, and it seemed like it went pretty well, and it was at Primo. So maybe we'll be able to do some more things there next year. I don't know. We'll see. But really cool place. And just in general, playing live for me is what I enjoy the most. It's kind of it's a challenge. It's hard, but I just feel like it's the most fun, and I feel like all the preparation and all whatever you do for practicing, rehearsals. When you're practicing by yourself as a musician, working on music, writing music, it all I feel like when you're in the live setting, whatever kind of a gig it is, that's where I feel like that's where the buck stops. Like that's where you're what you're trying to work towards. You're working on all these little things here and there, and playing in that live format is like hopefully the culmination of all of that. And whether it goes well or it doesn't go very well, it's just that's like to me where all of that time and effort goes to. So come on by if you're around Camden Town. Camden, used to have a lot of live music. Recently, of course, Gypsy Rose, which was a really great place, closed it's probably about a month or two ago, about a month ago now. So we played a couple of shows there with Quantum, and that was a lot of fun. So, but it comes and goes. Places open, places close. It's always this constant state of I don't know, like a sea change or something. It's always going on. It's always happening. But I don't know. I kind of feel like with all the musicians and people that I know and people that I happen to collaborate with or work with, it's whatever capacity it is. We just try to keep on keeping on and try to adjust to those things, those variables. So case in point with Gypsy Rose when they closed, I lost pretty decent amount of gigs because of that for the summer. I had not, I mean, not an incredible amount, but about 4 or 5 shows. I knew people that lost even more gigs. And so it's this thing of where after that happened, kind of out there hustling to try to make up for losing those gigs and trying to get some other work and trying to, fill up those slots or whatnot. Luckily it's worked out really well. So, you know, but you know, it's kind of a hustle, and I don't think that part of it will ever change, and it's just the nature of the beast. It is what it is. So today's show is on a really awesome movie by a director and also a screenwriter who is a living legend, and that is Paul Schrader. Paul Schrader is like one of my favorite writers in the movie world. He's also made some movies that I just really, really love. He's kind of one of my favorite directors. He's only done one movie that I feel was kind of a little bit of a misfire, but for the most part, he is just an amazing director and writer. He's probably most well known for all of his work with Martin Scorsese, another living legend. He, Paul Schrader, wrote the story and the screenplay for uh, Taxi Driver. One of the greatest movies ever, and one of the greatest Scorsese movies, for that matter. Just an amazing, grit, gritty journey into someone kind of losing their mind. Um, yeah, just amazing, just amazing. He's done a lot of interesting movies. I mean, of course, he also did American Gigolo in 1980. He wrote and directed that. Taxi Driver, Mishima, Life in the Four, The Canyons, which is a more recent movie that he directed. It's a pretty interesting movie. Actually, a very cool movie. Cat People, Hardcore, 1979. Affliction in 1997 with Willem Dafoe and Nick Nolte, which is and Sissy Spacek. Amazing. That movie's a masterpiece. That movie is just so awesome. That's one of my favorites. Blue Collar in '78. Light Sleeper in '92. Another collaboration with William Dafoe. He's worked with Dafoe quite a bit. Last Temptation of Christ. He wrote that. Another Scorsese movie. Also with William Dafoe, who played Jesus. An amazing movie. The Walker in 2007. Um, yeah, he's made so many great films. Um, yeah, so many great movies. But I always go back to Affliction, and I really love this movie that I'm going to be talking about today, and that is uh, Autofocus. What an extraordinary movie! What a wild story! All based on a really great book. One movie that he also did, which is just another masterpiece, is a movie he did with Christopher Walken, The Comfort of Strangers in 1990. Oh God, what a movie! Natasha Richardson, Rupert Everett is in it. Helen Mirren is in it. Oh, what a great movie! Super creepy, super dark. A lot of his films and a lot of the stories that he's been involved in, and I can't forget Raging Bull. He wrote that. Another masterpiece. I just did a show on the channel about Raging Bull, directed by Martin Scorsese. But one of the characteristics I feel that Paul Schrader brings to the table, whether he's writing a movie or directing a movie or both, is just he has this area or this thing of where he tends to explore very dark subjects and goes to certain places that are, kind of the dark underbelly of society or people's psyche. But everything has this real gritty realism in all his work, and that's the thing I love about his films. Um, and it's just extraordinary. And again, Autofocus is one of my favorite movies, and it's also a fantastic book, which was also called Autofocus. And it was written. The book itself was written by Robert Graysmith, and Robert Graysmith is the famous author who published and wrote the book about the Zodiac. And Robert Graysmith is he was a cartoonist at the San Francisco Chronicle, and he was involved and played a real key role in the whole investigation for finding who the Zodiac was. And then, of course, that book was uh, turned into a movie directed by David Fincher, Zodiac, which is just an amazing movie. And it's really about Jake Gyllenhaal plays Robert Graysmith, and amazing, amazing stuff. And so this was another book he wrote, and he wrote a book about this whole tale, and the story is just it's just incredible, and it's all based on uh, the true story. Just amazing. Yeah, just an incredible movie. And autofocus is essentially about the murder of Bob Crane, who was in the 40s, 50s, and 60s was a pretty popular actor. He had a radio show for a while. He went into television and also starred in various movies. He was most well known as being the lead actor in Hogan's Heroes, which was a really popular show during the 50s, 60s. But he struggled with his personality around, well, more or less sex addiction, and he had this really horrible reputation as far as being a sex addict, and was very much a part of the kind of the dark and seedy underbelly of the sex world. And it eventually kind of killed him. And the whole movie is about, and the story itself is about, this idealistic American white bread, character actor who, on the surface is all American white male, but underneath there's an incredibly dark kind of underbelly going on, and it's slowly, throughout his life, it was slowly, kind of the roots were, the seeds were planted, and you see it later, especially later in his career, where it just couldn't be contained anymore, and it eventually consumed him. But what a story! I mean, oh, just amazing. Um, John Carpenter was one of his friends, one of his closest friends, and it was they they had he had introduced Bob Crane to the dark underbelly of the sex world, and pulled him into this world, and they had a very complicated relationship. And John Carpenter, not the director, but John Carpenter, the real person in the story, who was friends with Bob Crane, was is played by William Dafoe, and he is just amazing in this movie. He's such a weird, creepy guy. And Bob Crane is played by Greg Kinnear, who is an amazing actor. He had a TV show himself for a very long time. So super cool. And but he transitioned out of the TV world into the movie world, and just a pretty extraordinary actor. And he plays Bob Crane, and it's such a complex role because all of the different layers of who he was as a person is and his portrayal of him is pretty astonishing. The other factor as to why I really love this movie, the film score was composed by my favorite film composer of all time, Angelo Badalamenti, most well known for all of his work with, of course, the iconic David Lynch. Angelo Badalamenti did lots of different films that were, he worked with lots of different directors outside of David Lynch throughout his long career, and he did the music for Autofocus, and it's pretty extraordinary. It's amazing because of the transition that the emotional uh, how the emotional content uh, shifts. It's very beautiful and serene in the beginning, but then as the movie gets darker, the music also follows that and sets that mood, and it's just incredible. So underrated, but I think one of his greatest collaborations as a composer with a director ever. Amazing, and it's not your typical thing that he's known for, which he kind of stepped out of that box of what he's kind of known to do as a composer, or not what he was known for, but just amazing. The cast is incredible for this film. Like I said, William Dafoe, um, Greg Kinnear, of course. Yeah, just an extraordinary cast. One of my favorite actresses, Mario Bello, plays one of, or plays basically one of the love interests. Rita Wilson, Tom Hanks's wife, is also in this, and she's really great. Michael McKean is also in this. Michael E. Rogers. Yeah, I've always loved this movie. I only have it on DVD, but this is a really great copy. Would be great because it really is. It follows Bob Crane's career for about 20 years, and it's such a provocative movie, and it's the cinematography is just extraordinary, and the music is just really great. There's a lot of great jazz. He was also Bob Crane was also a jazz drummer at the time, and he was a working musician too at the during that whole time. There's a lot of scenes where he's in playing in these various jazz clubs, so it's very cool. A lot of cool music, but the cinematography is breathtaking, and I don't own it on Blu-ray, but it would be great to get this. But this DVD, I can't remember where I got this. I've had this for a long time, but it's a really great edition. There's a ton of special features on here. Um, it's a special edition, like kind of collector's edition of this movie, so it's very cool. It's definitely one of the probably the best DVD version of the film you could get. So it's a step right below getting it on Blu-ray. So yeah, highly, highly recommend this movie. It's been out for quite a few years, but can't say enough. It came out in 2002, which is hard to believe, but amazing movie, amazing movie. Paul Schrader, he's the man. So he apparently just came out with a brand new movie. He's very prolific, so I got to check that out. So this is Jason Dean, and thanks again for your support, and we will see you next time. Peace.